The most important thing when you're initially growing a business, especially if it's some kind of services business, coaching, consulting, this is a mistake that most people make is they're trying to communicate multiple problems to multiple people. Who really is my ideal person to help that I know that I can get results for? They have a massive problem right now, and then you just go all in on that person.
Welcome to Evolve Leadership, the arena where high-achieving leaders are challenged to redefine their limits. My name is Angus Nelson. I grew up in the United States and I now live in Lisbon, Portugal. I'm an executive coach and I've spent my career advising and training leaders from startups to Fortune 500 companies. And here's what I've learned. An old, ineffective leadership framework will always keep you on a hamster wheel, consumed with work-life balance, burnout, and stress. Here on the show, each week we'll help you rethink the path to achievement. We'll help you discover new principles, new philosophies to the modern leader. Look, the world is relentlessly changing, demanding a new era of leaders. It's time to redefine your limits. So enter the arena, my friend. It's time to evolve.
When I first got into this coaching game, I tried to wing it and I fell all over myself. I made lots of mistakes and I didn't make a lot of money. And then I got involved with traffic and funnels and I got challenged to raise my prices, scared the spit out of me. Well, I can credit that to Chris and his colleague, Taylor. So super excited for you guys to hear from Chris. He's got a wealth of knowledge and he's got a heart of gold. Chris,
Beautiful.
without further ado.
Thanks for having me, Angus and Tim. Appreciate it. The most important thing when you're initially growing a business, especially if it's some kind of services business, coaching, consulting, and this is a mistake that I think most people make is they're trying to communicate multiple problems to multiple people. And that's very difficult versus saying, okay, if you were to take your market and draw on a paper, a pyramid, who is the top people? That's my perfect prospect. And what is their number one problem? And you developing a message that connects with that problem and shut out everybody else, not trying to be all things to all people. That's how you get initial momentum and you validate, okay, this message is connecting with this one person with this one problem. And once you hit that, then you can put like some automation behind it. So we kind of stumbled through that initially where we had some conversations. One was like a real estate investor, one was a photographer, one was like some other industry. And we knew that we could help them, right? We could help all of them. We didn't really know how because it's kind of different for each one of those industries, but we just like, yeah, we can help you. That was like the conversation until we just had more and more conversations and with more and more people to figure out, okay, like who really is my ideal person to help that I know that I can get results for. They have a massive problem right now. So their urgency, is probably pretty quick. They need to get their thing fixed or at least get some movement. And then you just go all in on that person. If you're a smaller business, you typically want to focus on the more affluent person, right? The person who has got more money to pay you right now. And they're closer. So if you look at the scale of the urgency of their problem, like not urgent to really urgent, their ability to not pay you or pay you, right? Their understanding of the problem to not, you want to get as close to the right hand, right? When I'm doing this demonstration as you can, because that means they're closer to the buying pocket.
What were your dreams when you were at, say, 20,000 a month versus how did your personal dreams or your imagination of what was possible or what you wanted to see happen? How did that change at the different levels of income?
When I was able to get clarity on how to get to the outcome, that's when everything changed. So this is a really interesting thing. So there's a mental model called first principles. Have you guys heard of this?
It's a Musk thing. Musk talks about it a lot.
Yeah, he talks about it. So essentially, first principles in your business, if like you go to the end of like the thing I want, right? The accomplishment. And Musk, like his example is a rocket ship. So you take the components of that and you break it down. And what are the parts of that? If you understand the parts of something, then you can engineer the building of the thing. right? So for example, if I want to get 10 clients a month, how many people I need to opt in, how many conversations do I need to have, what's my amount I need to charge. And you can engineer your way to 10 clients a month or 20 or whatever it is. So if if you don't understand the principles, the building blocks of the end result, it's hard to get to the end result because you don't have clarity. So once you figure this out, and that's the thing, it's like, okay, well, frig, dude, we got to 100 grand. Like I understood the first principles of 100,000. Then it was just turning the dials up to the other levels. Like, okay, what are the other pieces as we scale and grow bigger that we need to make this thing go?
Is there a universal connection point to building momentum?
Yeah, I would say the universal is the mental model of first principles. That works in any industry. It doesn't matter. If you don't have clarity on the parts of something, you don't know how to engineer an outcome to something. You have to know the parts. So basically, can you take your thing down to the studs? Right? It's not enough just to be able to look at the sheetrock. Can I rip that off and like actually go down to the studs and figure out how is this thing built? What are the components of it? I'd encourage you guys to go study this mental model. It's how I scale these businesses as a framework. That and just inversion, like, okay, if I go to the outcome, the ends, like how do I work it backwards? Right? If I want X amount of revenue per month, what are the components, the parts to get to that part? And when you have that super clarity, then you have the conviction and the confidence. Say, okay, I need to acquire this part, or I need this piece, or I need this thing. And I need to put it right here as a part of the process. That makes sense. Like this is a big topic to go in on, but this is a big piece of accomplishing what you want.
When you want to go to the next level, you know that you're going to have to take a risk. You're going to have to like lean into trust the gift, trust the product, trust the something. Mm-hmm. What is that when you're looking at it? If you're throwing out numbers out here for some of us that would be like, well, crap, to go from 100 to 1 million within just a few short, months means it's going to require me to leverage debt. It's going to require me to put up a bunch of, revenue that maybe I want to protect. Like, what is that mental switch that says it's go time?
When you have clarity and you've assessed the upside versus the downside. If you have no clarity, it's all risk. It's all risk if you have no clarity. But if you have clarity on the parts and the pieces, all the numbers, all the components, then you say, okay, like if say my thing is 5 parts. Well, daggone, okay, 4 of these are like all locked into where they need to be. It's just this one thing like I'm missing. Maybe it's a part of my customer service that's keeping me from scaling, or maybe it's an ad, or maybe it's whatever. But if you don't have clarity on these 5 parts, how are you going to know like what's working, what's not? So you have to know the components of the business, especially in growth and building momentum. And once you do that, say, okay, like this is the standard for this. This is the standard for this, the standard for this. Okay, like all these things are good. Like we're green light. Like what are we doing? And so a lot of the calls I've had with clients, like, dude, just turn up. Like you're there, right? But they didn't know that because they didn't really know the parts. And so you just have to like look at the whole thing. It's like, okay, well, what are the pieces of my business that make this thing go? Right. And once you've identified those, okay, what are the standards within those pieces? What are the numbers or KPIs that if that thing's doing that thing, that thing's doing that thing, that thing's doing that thing along the line, that we're good. Like we're hitting what we want to hit. You got to get there first. And the unknown is risky because it's just a scary monster in the closet. But you just got to go open the door and turn the light on. But we're so scared of the closet. It's like, oh my God, we just avoid it, right? And that ends up being the condition of a lot of our lives. Knowing like there's going to be issues and problems, like that's just process. You're going to face resistance. You don't get stronger. You don't build muscle without resistance. That's natural law, right? But when you're in an unknown place, it's like, oh my God, everything's resistance. Everything's a problem, right? Everything's scary. So you just got to turn the lights on, lift some weights, get sweaty, maybe get punched in the face, but you'll at least know how to bob and weave a little bit when you have some clarity on around your business and the parts of your business. And sometimes you'll enjoy just getting punched in the face, right? Like, it's like,
Mhm.
also, I just love to fight. Let's go, dude. And I've been there, like, let's freaking go, step up, because you have that confidence, you have clarity, right? If you
Yeah.
don't feel clarity in your business, what's going on, dude,
Yeah.
you're not going to have confidence.
Yeah.
So either when you first started or in your subsequent kind of endeavors, did you have sort of a timeline that you set on yourself, or did it just organically kind of happen for you?
I'm more in a place of organically right now. In the previous Chris, older version of Chris, no, slow was not an option for me. It was just,
Mm.
like I said, like, I'm always pedal to the metal. We got to go as fast as we can. Um, so now here's what I look for, though, and this is something I've been able to teach a lot of people is, again, going back to first principles, not to harp on it, but if you kind of know the parts, you're always looking for indicators. Like, is something moving in the right direction? Because a mistake that we make is we don't know, like, good indicators versus bad indicators, we'll abandon prematurely.
Mm.
So if you know something's moving in the right direction, it's like, okay, great. I've got some movement in the right direction. How do I turn that thing up? And that's the question you ask at that moment. Chris right now is like, I'm kind of organic, just like chilling, maybe taking some clients, maybe not. I don't know. Trying to figure out my identity in my life. And when things are right and they feel good, and I'll probably put some of my mojo and turn it up. But I'm always looking for indicators. And one indicator is this good in a mind alignment, right? And I enjoy this push and all that kind of stuff. Or do I have some internal resistance? Like, you always got to start there if you feel things are jacked up.
I've never felt resistance internally. Never. Son of a bitch, I'm going to
Oh, there
Lisbon.
you
What the
go.
hell? What are we doing? What in the world?
Let me just pause for a second to say this. There is one trait that you will find in every successful leader, no matter their industry, no matter their role. And that trait is action. And we want to inspire ambitious leaders like you to bet on yourself and take action on those audacious goals that you see in your heart. That's why we created our 90-day accelerator. It's a results-driven, battle-tested framework designed specifically for high-performing leaders like you to get unstuck and propel you towards your goals. And in just 90 days, you won't even recognize the person you used to be. To be a part of this elite community, go to evolveleadership.org. Now, back to the show.
What gets you excited right now?
My family gets me excited. I'm just jacked about my family right now as I'm finding a place of contentment and identifying just the richness of my children and my wife and those close relationships. That's been awesome. But serving people, is what I'm really excited about, and designing my life out of all that and designing what I want to do. So, it's an interesting thing when you build businesses really fast. A lot of times you end up waking up one day and realize you've built a prison cell for yourself. And I feel that was the case because I didn't have like all these parameters, and I had some boundaries and stuff, but now I'm at the place where it's like, okay, I can really start to design exactly what I want, what I enjoy, and where I'll have the biggest impact. And so that's what I'm excited about, that process. But honestly, it's uncomfortable because it's not natural for me. Like,
Hey, one question I did have for you. You mentioned that you struggled initially embracing your emotions and allowing them to kind of come out and allow them to be the indicators that they are. Are there any books that or steps or things that helped you with that process? Because I'm struggling with the same thing. I was very good at repressing those emotions when I needed something to get done.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you for being vulnerable. So a couple books. One, again, the Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Another one is My Name is Hope, I think, is another one. I don't know if you deal with anxiety and depression, but that's really been impactful for me. Feeling Great is one that's written by a psychologist on just some really practical tools and tuning in. And then I've invested into a mindset coach that's kind of helped me process some of my things too and just walk me through. So a really good person like that could be beneficial. Because man, a lot of times, honestly, I have no idea what the hell I'm feeling or how to feel it and deal with it. So I have to talk to somebody like, okay, like I'm pissed off about XYZ or whatever. And so that's been really helpful as well. But yeah, those books have been really beneficial.
Hey, Chris, as you went through different progressions of more levels of money coming in, how did that change what you saw as being possible? How did that affect that?
Yeah, there's levels of belief, right? It's like if you've never made $20,000 a month, a lot of times it's hard to believe that you can make $20,000 a month. Or if you've never made $1 million a month, it's hard to believe that. And so there's levels of belief. And one of the best ways to increase your level of belief is to get around other people who have done that or are doing that, right? But obviously a group like this, people online, that's kind of how I started. And so that's one way. Two, it's actually visualizing. So your brain doesn't know the difference of something you experience versus something you don't experience. So you can actually visualize the process of accomplishing XYZ goal, and you have no idea like if that was real or not. Like that's just some good science stuff. And a book I recommend on that is Psycho-Cybernetics. So a process of going through like, man, like what is the feeling of that accomplishment? What is the feeling of accomplishing that thing or achieving that thing? And once you like start to experience that internally, like your emotions connect with it. If you're not suppressing them like I was, or, the actions, start to connect with it to where like if you believe something and you feel it, and you start taking the right action to the right place, that's going to be the accomplishment of that thing. And then there's like this flywheel, and you build momentum in belief. So that's a process. And the other thing too, that I have become really good at is just engineering the accomplishment. Like most things, especially in business, it's just math. So if I can make the numbers work out, and especially maybe I haven't actually gone to run ads or done the things that, result from the numbers, I can talk to someone who has. Okay. So for example, can I get a lead for $20? Okay. Yep. Can I get a conversation for $300? Yep. Can I close 1 out of those 10? Yep. Right. And you just start to engineer and kind of put together. And then once you like physically experience that, you're just like, oh my God, that worked. I got that lead for $20. Yeah. Right. So that's kind of the process. And then you increase that belief as you move forward. So what I didn't have is the wisdom to slow down that process to make sure the foundations were good. So I got so good at engineering things and building on that to where that's how I built that 7-figure business in a matter of months. We got a really great offer. We engineered we had all the economics pre-built out. Like we knew what all the numbers we had to hit. And we just basically pushed to hit those numbers and blew that business up. So we launched that in February of 2020. And by the summer of 2020, we were 7 figures a month. That was a pretty crazy ride.
Well, thanks, Chris. Dude, we'll do this again sometime. Chris, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, dude. You're good people.
Thanks for having me, guys.
As we wrap up another episode of Evolve Leadership, thank you so much for taking time to invest in you. If there's to be any sustainable growth in your company or even in your relationships, you must grow first. And it's what I love to do for leaders, to help them grow, to challenge their thinking, sharpen self-awareness, to instill an unshakable confidence, and ultimately upgrade their sense of self. And we do this through our proprietary method called Agile EQ Plus, where we're leveraging agile leadership and emotional intelligence. We provide our signature training for individuals, and for businesses, we've designed a unique curriculum for company-wide learning and development. If you'd like to learn more about our training or to schedule a call, you can simply go to evolveleadership.org. And until next time, stay driven, keep climbing, and never stop evolving.